When we think of Filipino horror, the aswang is usually front and center. It's practically our version of the vampire or the werewolf, but most of the time, aswang movies lean into campy horror or shallow monster chasing stories. Then came Yanggao in 2008. This little indie film from the Visayas took the aswang myth and turned it into something raw, tragic, and genuinely haunting.
Hindi mo ko gani kaintindi sa ginabatsyag ko.
It's not just about blood and gore, it's about family, faith, and survival in a rural community.
Mahimo namon.
And despite its brilliance, Yanggao is still one of the most underrated Filipino horror films. Today, we will revisit Yanggao and discuss why it deserves way more attention, both as a horror film and a powerful piece of Philippine cinema. Let's talk about Yanggao. Let me tell you the story. Yanggao begins quietly, almost deceptively so. We meet Amor, who returns home to her family after falling mysteriously ill. At first, her symptoms seem harmless: fatigue, strange movements, and fevers, but whispers of something darker creeps in.
Gapati ko sa chay. Gapati ka galitay? Oo eh. Mugani nga may binangon ko din nga asiro. Kay hadlok ng mga aswang sini.
A healer warns the family that her ailment may be tied to the presence of an aswang, planting the seed of dread early on. Amor's family, headed by Junior and his wife Inday, is already struggling with their own hardships. They live a modest provincial life, navigating petty feuds, financial troubles, and a growing sense of discontent with their neighbors. But everything changes when Amor's condition worsens. At night, she begins to act strangely, her body twitching uncontrollably, her hunger growing unbearable. The once vibrant young woman now seems haunted, almost possessed. The horror is slow, creeping. First, it's just odd behavior, then the discovery of slaughtered animals. So at this point, it becomes undeniable. Amor is no longer simply sick. She has transformed into an aswang, a creature cursed with an insatiable thirst for blood. Junior, torn between love and fear, refuses to see his daughter as a monster.
Sapat ng bata mo.
Hindi sapat si Amor. Kita ang gahimo sapat sa
While others urge him to restrain or, at worst, kill her, he clings to the hope that Amor can still be saved. He chains her up, desperately trying to control her condition, but his compassion blinds him. Junior cannot let go of Amor even as his wife, Inday, and the rest of the family begin to crumble under this terror.
Bata ko na!
But the aswang curse cannot be contained. The family's fragile bonds unravel as Amor's hunger grows. In the devastating climax, she takes the life of her infant nephew,
Nablus mo na!
driven by her uncontrollable urges. This final act forces Junior to confront the truth he's been denying. In a heartbreaking moment, he kills his own daughter.
Ayaw nga lang mata mo.
Ending the nightmare, but leaving the family scarred forever. When you watch Yanggao for the first time, it's tempting to see it simply as a monster film. Amor gets infected and transformed into an aswang, and her hunger leads to tragedy. The aswang operates as a powerful metaphor. At its core, the film is about the terror of watching someone you love become unrecognizable. Amor's illness mirrors real-world conditions, diseases that slowly consume the body and mind, addictions that strip away a person's humanity, or even depression that isolates someone from their family. To Junior and the rest of the family, Amor is still their daughter and sister. But when duality captures what makes the aswang such a frightening figure in Philippine folklore, it's not an outsider monster. It's someone from your home. Someone you share meals with or grew up with suddenly becomes a danger to you. That tension between the familiar and the horrific makes Yanggao hit much harder than your average horror film. And yet, the metaphor doesn't stop there. Amor's transformation also reflects how poverty and desperation can twist lives. Instead, they rely on healers, rituals, and old folklore. In this sense, the Aswang isn't just a supernatural curse. It's also a symptom of larger systemic issues. Amor becomes a tragic embodiment of what happens when people fall through the cracks of society. It's about something deeply human, the pain of watching a loved one fade into something you can't control, and the helplessness of not knowing how to save them.
Wala ko lang siguro nasarangan na obra dito.
May ginasekreto ka sa amon, Mor.
One of the most striking aspects of Yanggao is how it explores the breakdown of a family under the weight of denial and desperation. Amor's transformation is horrifying, but what really hits you is how her family responds to it, or more accurately, refuses to answer. Junior, the father, embodies this conflict. He knows Amor is dangerous. His instinct is to protect her, even when the logical thing to do would be to restrain her permanently or turn her over to authorities. That denial comes from love, but it's also destructive. It puts his entire family at risk and, in the end, cost them dearly. This theme is even more potent because it mirrors real-life family dynamics in times of crisis. Many families deal with loved ones suffering from addiction, illness, or destructive behavior. And just like in the film, the parents often cannot let go, and those who hold on to hope even when the situation becomes unbearable. Junior's refusal to give up on Amor is painfully relatable, both noble and tragic. Meanwhile, the other family members embody different responses to the crisis. Inday, the mother, represents the breaking point of patience. Toto and Irma, the siblings, are torn between compassion and survival. These conflicts feel raw and honest because Yanggao doesn't present the family as united heroes. Instead, it shows them fracturing under pressure, each person dealing with grief and fear in their own way. The desperation grows as their isolation deepens. They don't have money for hospitals. The local faith healer admits he can't do anything. Their neighbors are suspicious. In this suffocating environment, the family becomes trapped not just by Amor's condition, but by their lack of options. Denial and desperation feed into each other, making tragedy inevitable. This makes Yanggao so powerful as a horror film. It's not just about a monster outside the home. It's about the monsters we invite when we refuse to face painful truths. At the heart of Yanggao is a tension between old traditions and modern systems, and how neither can fully solve the family's problem. When Amor shows signs of transformation, the first instinct isn't to go to a hospital. Instead, the family turns to folk remedies. Ginger paint on her clothes, copper knives to ward off aswangs, and eventually, a local faith healer. These methods are rooted in centuries of belief passed down as protection against the supernatural. But even when they try modern help, it fails them. Yanggao uses this dynamic not just to build tension, but to highlight a real gap in how people navigate crisis. What makes it more chilling is how this clash leaves the family alone. Folklore cannot save Amor, and they're caught between two worlds, and horror festers in the middle of that gap. Ultimately, Junior's decision to keep Amor at home, caught between faith and modern science, becomes his act of love and his greatest mistake. It reflects how people, when institutions fail, are left to carry the unbearable weight themselves. At its core, Yanggao isn't just about monsters. It's about love taken to its breaking point. Junior's love for his daughter Amor drives the story, ultimately becoming his undoing. He knows what she has become, what she is capable of, and yet he cannot bring himself to end her suffering. Instead, he clings to that hope that she will somehow control herself, that the daughter he raised still exists underneath the monstrous hunger. This love blinds him. Despite his wife and family begging him to let Amor go, Junior chooses to protect her, even if it means putting everyone else at risk. It's impossible. The tragedy, of course, is that Junior's sacrifice only prolongs the inevitable. Amor cannot be saved, and in the process of holding onto her, he loses nearly everything, including his family's trust. His final act, killing Amor after she devours her infant nephew, is a devastating moment not just of horror, but of love finally forced into its most painful form. Yanggao captures so well that horror doesn't always come from the monsters itself. It comes from the choices love demands. Junior's journey reflects how love, denial, and desperation can trap us in situations where every decision hurts. His sacrifice is not heroic in the traditional sense. It's heartbreaking. It leaves scars that the family will carry forever. By ending on this note, the film reminds us that absolute horror isn't just about creatures or folklore. It's about how love can destroy us as much as it defines us. Yanggao may not be filled with jump scares or flashy special effects, but what makes it unforgettable is how it uses horror to expose the deepest fears within family and community. Amor's transformation into an Aswang is terrifying on its own, but the absolute horror comes from watching a family crumble under the weight of love, denial, and sacrifice. The film lingers because it asks impossible questions. How far would you go to protect the ones you love? When do you finally let go? And when the monster is someone you raised, can you ever truly destroy it, or will the scars remain forever? For me, that's what makes Yanggao stand out as one of the finest works in Philippine horror. It's not just about folklore, it's about humanity. It's even when they've already turned into something else.